let's say you have an image that's nice enough, but um, global adjustments aren't doing it. In this particular case, there's kind of a black hole going on over here that's just sucking the viewer up and not letting them go anywhere else. It's just not it's not a very attractive part of this picture. It's not a good look. So I want to lighten this up and I want to enhance the shadows that drew me to it, maybe bring some of the sky tonality back down to earth. Right now it's a pretty imbalanced image. So I do that using what we call local adjustments. Um, and the process is really simple. Pick some sort of way of selecting the area that you want to change. So it might be that you're going to, draw a line around it, but probably a lot of the time a quick selection tool is going to be the best bet. So maybe I want to start by making this section of road calm down a little bit, get a little lighter so there's less value contrast between it and the snow. So you can see the object selection tool figured it out pretty quickly. Honestly, the poles might as well get a little bit lighter too, for all I care. I can fine tune it later. So I've got that selected, but I don't want it to be a really hard-edged selection. So I'm going to come up here to the top of my screen and click the Select and Mask button. And that is going to allow me to choose from some options down here. The one I use probably 99% of the time is just the feather slider. Depends on the file size that you're using. So, if it's a pretty big file, you'll have to slide it farther to soften those edges. But if I zoom in, you can see what's going on here. So you don't want to glow around things, but you don't want an absolute hard edge, right? So soften it just a little bit, and you can shift that edge in or out as well. I guess I use that the other 2% of the time. And so I can click OK here. You can also make changes to it while it's still just a selection. Notice there's some weirdness going on up in here. I could switch to the quick selection tool, which acts just like a brush. So you can use your left bracket tool to make it smaller. You could hold down minus and you can click on things that are not supposed to be selected like that. Zoom out a little bit. There you go. In fact, maybe I don't want that guy selected at all. Maybe that's a little much. So again, option on the Mac, hold that down. You can just come up here too, right? See the three little options, upper left. So I've got that selected. I've feathered it so that it's not going to look like a cut paper change. And now with my selection active, I can just click on adjustments up here, go to the middle one, which is the curves adjustment layer. Mean Dab is going to make you learn how to use curves adjustment layers. So just do curves. Don't even get attracted by these other easy ones. Curves. Real photographers use curves. It's honestly, it's just a better way of making adjustments visually, because if I lighten this mid-tone area, it is making a change relative to the values around it. I don't know that I said that all that well, but I'm gonna make this little guy a little bigger for you. There we go. So I'm kind of targeting that area and just making the sidewalk brighter so that in comparison with the rest of the image, it's just not quite so huge a contrast. I don't want to make it artificial. I mean, these things are pretty powerful, but subtlety is the name of the game. So I've got that. And you can put more than one point on this. You could kind of tone down its contrast a little bit by anchoring the light areas and bringing up the shadows a tiny bit. Just be a little mindful of that. If you put an anchor point in that you don't want, let's see, I do that. And I go, oh, I don't want that. Click on it, hold on to it, and drag it out of the graph and let go. And now it's gone. Can't hurt you anymore. So, so there's my adjustment. And now you can already see that your eye just tends to move around this picture a little better just with that change. Maybe that's a little extreme. I don't know that I really needed to. I could probably just pull it up like that. So do a lot of this, really look at it, come and go from it. What I'm doing over here on the left-hand side of my layer is I am poking at its eye to make it invisible and then poking it back to turn it on, make it active. So I can look away, look at it, see if I'm really making a good change and adjust it. If not, by clicking here on this little icon, it brings up that curve again, so I can make adjustments. If I click here, see the little brackets move to being around the mask, I can see the mask again. So you've got the left and right bracket tools for adjusting your brush, right? And the one to the right of them, which lives what between the delete under the delete button on your keyboard and above return, turns that mask on. So I can take a look at that and make any adjustments I need to. And so, because sometimes something sneaks by. Like, what about that little tiny bit of snow in there? What if, oh my God, that was getting too bright? I kind of doubt that it is, honestly. But I could come over here on the left, grab my paintbrush tool, and as long as I make sure that what is selected is the mask, I can paint over here. And I will not be painting on my picture, I will be painting on the mask, right? So down here, these two swatches represent your foreground and your background. Foreground is what the brush is going to paint with. So if it's black, it means that it's going to create more of the mask. See how it's black mask over here. Up here at the top, I control things like how opaque it is. I want it to be full black, just like the rest of the mask. And over here with the little brush, you can, oh, I lied. Right here, you can make adjustments to it. I want it to have a soft edge, so I'll just leave that there. And so there, I can just paint right in. And so now when I turn my mask off and on and turn my adjustment off and on, you can see that snow is staying where it was supposed to. And like I said, you can just go through and kind of fine tune. Maybe your mask has a couple little light things that are getting too light. If it's hard to get in that corner, just go right up to the corner, go right over the edge, and then check this out, switch to painting with white. What? So you can fix those corners and make it really precise if you want to. There. How's that? Command 0 brings me back to full screen. And so you've got the idea. That's one curves adjustment with a layer mask, and it's just for this area. I have a whole group of these things that I stuck in a folder, and so you can kind of see, oh my God, look at all these obsessive changes. Here's one, lightens up those bushes, right? Now my eye really goes back to that area. And it's not such a bad area. It kind of captures a little bit of the energy of the scene. Here, just toning down the snow in the foreground a little tiny bit so those shadows are enhanced. The sky, what about the sky? Bring it down a little bit. Not a lot, just enough to balance the scene. This one, you can see it. Look, it's just an oval, right? I just slightly lightened up the middle of everything. So that mask looks like this. It's not meant to be a vignette, really, that you'd notice per se, but honestly, it sort of kind of is. And the way I made that, by the way, is go back and select my background layer. I took the ellipse marquee tool and I just drew across the middle roughly where I thought I wanted it to be lighter. Maybe not quite that much, right about there. Yeah, let's say right there. And then I just did a horrendous amount of feathering on it. So there we go. Just mostly pink, just getting a little bit lighter in the middle. And so that's okay on that. And then I went here, and then I did that, and then I went, ha, just a little bit of light. So, but we don't need two of those. So what do you do when you have a mask you didn't need? Um, Click and hold and drag it to its own special trash can right there. So that's not the trash can on the Mac. That's the trash can in the menu. Boop, it's out of my hair. And now I still have my original one. So continuing along the tour of the layers, the left side needed a little bit of oomph. Because of course you've got this dark side over here. Even if I did lighten it up, it's still a little dark and heavy. So I boosted up the contrast a little bit and darkened some of the shadows. Over here, off and on, just leading the eye in a little more around this curve. Curve and curves. I did do a little bit of color balancing. I'm turning it on and off. It's probably really hard for you to see. It's pretty faint, but just making mild, gentle, careful adjustments is what this is all about. And then the ditch, darkening this water seems to carry across the idea a little more. And again, if I'm like, oh, I think I went too far with that, maybe I want to back it off a little bit. I can. And a little more light up here. And that is all of them. You made it through the tour. So once again, um, I kind of like putting my adjustments into these folders, these groups. So that lives down here. If you want to create a new group, you just click that button and poof, there's a new group. Um, so, oh my God. I'm having troubles. There we go. So can you see? It just a little more access, a little more of what it felt like to me at the time with that sun setting and that sort of warmth coming in over the rooftops. This wasn't doing it. This was looking sort of cold and flat and not that nice. That's what I saw. That's what I felt when I was there. And that's what I want you to achieve when you do these things. So, um, for saving this, these were editable changes, right? I can go back and change anything. I can throw a layer away. So save this version of it in a folder that you just call in progress or something that means something to you. I thought I hit save. Oh, I meant to say save as. Uh, okay. Got a little ahead of myself. Yes, I did. Okay. So, um, you can make yourself a folder that says in progress. Maybe you make yourself another folder. Where did it go? That says to print. Here's where the original picture came from, raw files. So, and you can see I already saved it once that way, which is why I kind of had troubles. Um, I'm just going to call it A so I don't have a problem. So save it as a Photoshop file because then all those layers will stay intact and you'll be able to mess with them later. Maximize capability, compatibility really doesn't matter too much in this case. That's more so you can use other Adobe things with it. I mean, we're not going to be adding letters to these, but whatever. So that's saved. And now I could come back and edit all these things anytime I wanted. Then when it's, whoops, when I want to turn this in, I'm going to need to flatten the image. So I go to this area here, layer, and I come down to either merge visible or flatten image. It really doesn't matter which. And watch my layers palette on the lower right-hand side of the screen when I click that. Oh, that wasn't what I meant to do. Yeah. So much suspense. Where was I? Wait, oh, yeah, there, layers, flatten image. So poof, now it's just one background layer. I would now come down to save as, and I'll save that. Saving a copy is what I meant to say. And I'm going to put that in the to print folder, just somewhere separate, right? Or name it separately, whatever. So this is a JPEG, and JPEGs can't have all those layers. So if you go and you try to save as a JPEG while it still has its layers, you're going to get rid of the layers, whether you wanted to or not. Make sure, as always, you save it with maximum scale. And pay attention before you close your file. Look, up here, snow, home, 20a.psd. So that was my layered version. So I'm going to turn it back to before I had, scoot that up so you can see, in my history palette, which is over here. This is the step where I flattened my image. If I back that up, now I've got all those layers back. That's where I should leave it when I close it because I don't want to have flattened all those things and save it as my in progress file. Does that make sense? I hope so. So Command W, save. Command W is to close a file in Photoshop. You could also just go close up here or this little X right there.